What's up, world? This is Salim with Flip for Figs, and welcome to episode 10 in my figure matchup series. Today, we have Han Solo from Return of the Jedi versus Boba Fett, and this is from The Empire Strikes Back, the 40th Anniversary Edition. I'm going to be taking a look at sculpt and details, accessories, and overall value for the money to see which figure comes out on top. Stay tuned to the end of this video to see who next week's figure matchup will be.
Flip for Figs.
When I flip, you flip, we flip.
Welcome to the most controversial Hot Toys head sculpt ever, perhaps? Or maybe not as controversial as, Mace Windu. But I think for many, Han Solo is such an iconic character, and they were kind of disappointed that the first Han Solo figure we're getting in a long time had this kind of very specific, facial expression, kind of concerned and a lot of forehead wrinkles. And while it looks extremely realistic, I do agree that it's a very specific kind of face sculpt, and it's an expression that Han didn't convey as much in the original trilogy. I mean, he was always cocky and confident, and so I think that this was an interesting choice. But the tailoring on the outfit is fantastic. It's it looks like a miniature human in front of you wearing real clothes. I mean, the different fabrics and materials are great. Pleather boots and a pleather belt are not great in 2025, but I guess Hot Toys is just not going to give in there. And this exterior trench coat is nice. I think originally I didn't plan to display it with the coat because I didn't have any other I didn't have a regular The A New Hope Hot Toys Han Solo in his standard outfit. But once I threw the coat on, it actually made me like the figure more. I think without the coat, I was trying to have it be my one, Han Solo figure. And once I put the coat on and accepted that, no, this is my Endor Han exclusively for my Return of the Jedi collection, I started to like it a lot more. All right, sculpt and detail wise, he just looks fantastic. I mean, if you watched my ranking video, you know that I really gushed about this figure and just all the different materials and details that are used. I mean, everything is asymmetrical, and you can just look and see all of the different weathering and scratches and scuffs and little details, and it's just, a testament to Lucasfilm's design of the character, because it's just amazing. And like what are these? I don't know why there's braided hair coming out, but I love it. And I think he just looks awesome. And I prefer this look to kind of the Mandalorian look, which is a lot cleaner, obviously, after he did he got his armor repainted and everything. But yeah, I just think he looks fantastic. That helmet is so cool. The green, he's just one of the most iconic characters ever, right? And he's probably the reason that we continue to get new Mandalorian characters. It all started with Boba Fett, and it's just, I love everything about the figure. His standard jetpack is a very similar green, but it's not the exact same green, which I thought was odd. There is a little bit of a difference there, but it's close enough where it's not going to kind of draw your attention. All right, and then here he is with the swap out armor. So I swapped out the helmet as well as the cape. Speaking of the cape, it's just kind of sitting there because it's not clipping in. So now I'm kind of nervous that the original one won't clip in, but it is wired and it looks cool. I swapped out the gauntlets here. So that's that orange one with that, kind of like tool sticking out. And then that's the other one. And I swapped out the gun as well. And then for the belt, you just kind of take off the pouches that come with it and you move those pockets, and then you add the other pouches. Then there he is with the other jetpack on, which, like I said, is reminiscent of Jango Fett. Now, the jetpack is magnetic, but it also has these clips, and it's really a pain to put them in the clips. So if you at least get one, you can use kind of the magnet to keep the rest of it on. So detail-wise, I prefer the original look. I guess I wouldn't be able to tell, honestly. Like, if I had, seen this figure in person and you had it displayed one way or the other, I wouldn't be able to tell that this is like a concept art or whatever, promo version, whatever they're calling it. To me, it's Boba Fett, but since I obviously have both together, I do prefer the standard look. But I do think it's great that they gave you the option to display it in a different way. Sculpt and detail wise, I gotta give it to Boba Fett. Alrighty folks, so in terms of accessories, this is everything you're going to get in the box. Accessories are super light. You essentially get 5 extra hands, and you know, the sculpt work on the hands is nice. He's got kind of like some dark fingertips to show that he's kind of dirty, which I guess to be expected when you're kind of going through the forest after being stuck in carbonite. Comes with a couple different rocks, which is actually really cool because if you decide to display it without the crotch grabber, you can use these rocks to fill in those spots, which normally would remain open in a display base, which is actually why I use the crotch grabbers, just because I don't like having those empty rectangles. So I hope Hot Toys continues to do that. Speaking of the crotch grabber, you actually have 2 different spots that you can put it in, which is nice, although I don't know why anyone would put it on this side considering his nameplate's there. The display base is actually my favorite accessory because it's kind of, you know, like a diorama display base, which I hope Hot Toys continues to do that. I'm starting to like these kind of circular display bases, and if they start incorporating more diorama, you know, features, the better. It also comes with this log, which you can kind of just throw anywhere, as well as an additional pebble, which is for the other spot on the crotch grabber, and you can kind of just put that anywhere as well. And then his blaster, as well as his coat, are the only other accessories. And yeah, very light in terms of accessories. All right, accessories for days. So Boba Fett essentially comes out of the box like this, except without the jetpack attached. And so you do see both jetpacks kind of immediately, but this is everything you're getting. These tools I actually kept in the box because I never opened the instructions. Apparently they're supposed to go in those little pouches around his ankles, so I'll definitely be doing that now, but I wanted to show you all the different ones. These are all of the hands you get for the standard look of Boba Fett. And then you also get this additional mythosaur pauldron, which I think is really cool. I didn't realize that they had that lore back during the Empire Strikes Back days, or if this was ever visible on screen, but I know the mythosaur from the Mandalorian, and it's really cool that that was established so long ago. Now, everything on this side is what you get with the deluxe version, which is for that prototype look. So you get this additional helmet. The helmets look very similar, and if it wasn't for those markings on the top, I probably wouldn't know right off the bat which one is which, but I do prefer the green on the standard helmet. And you also get a whole extra set of hands. You get these 2 different gauntlets, which are a bit more colorful than the standard ones that come. And this one has kind of this, what looks like a spring-loaded blade. And then you get the other jetpack, which is really similar to Jango Fett's jetpack from Attack of the Clones. You also get this other kind of weathered gray cape, which is also wired. These extra pouches, which go along the belt. And then these extra pieces of cloth as well. You also get this gun, which is really cool. And yeah, so like I said, accessories for days. About it, Boba Fett's winning accessories. All right, now in terms of value for the money, this one's a little bit tricky because I love this character. He's one of my top 10 favorite Hot Toys Star Wars figures that I have. However, he was really expensive, I think, because this is the most iconic look for Boba Fett. Everyone wants the Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett. And you know, while I could have probably gotten the original version or just the standard version, since everything you see on this table, I leave in the box anyways, but I figured if I'm buying it, I may as well, you know, get the best version available. So with that said, it is pricey, and I think all these extra accessories drive up the price for it as well. And with that said, you know, it's not a great value because, again, you're not going to really use a lot of these accessories. And I think for people who maybe originally had the regular Empire Strikes Boba Fett, it was cool getting this alternate version so you could display it both ways. For me personally, the looks are not different enough to justify getting this if you already had another one. And also, you know, there are so many different versions of Boba Fett out there between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and now even The Mandalorian, that I feel like, you know, it kind of devalues this specific figure, because if you don't have this specific Boba Fett, you know, you can get any of the other versions and likely still be just as happy. Now, I think for me personally, would I still love this Boba Fett figure if it was the Return of the Jedi one or a different, Empire Strikes Back one, not the deluxe? Chances are, yeah, because I love the character and I think he looks cool with whichever way you're displaying him with whichever accessories. I mean, I love Mandalorian helmets, I love Jango Fett, I love Boba Fett, I love Mando. And so, in terms of this specific figure, now that I have everything, I feel like I probably could have gotten a more inexpensive Boba Fett instead of spending as much as I did to get this specific one. So for me, the value for the money just isn't there because, like I said, if you didn't have this specific Boba Fett, you could probably do with any of the other ones. Alrighty, folks, so let's talk value for the money for Han Solo. Now, I think this figure is a good value because it's one of only 3 original trilogy Han Solos that we have, and it's his only representation from Return of the Jedi. Now, I think many people, myself included, would have preferred a Bespin Han Solo first or a Hoth Han Solo first. So this was kind of an interesting choice, but considering that we have, Luke and Leia and Wicket from the Endor collection, I understand them wanting to complete that. I'm always a fan of completing a set. And then I really do like the display base that comes with it because it doubles as a diorama display base, and it does have kind of Hot Toys' latest skin texture designs and sculpt work and moving eyes. Say what you will about the sculpt or the facial expression chosen, but, for the price, I think it's, a good value. I mean, Hot Toys are expensive, right? There's no way around that. And this figure is kind of light on the accessories side, but it is an iconic character. So the more the merrier in that front. Now, in terms of, value for the money for my collection, the way I kind of look at it during these figure matchups is which figure is more critical to my collection. Now, this is kind of tricky because, as you know, Boba Fett is one of my favorite top 10 Hot Toys figures, and I love it and I love having it. But if we're comparing value for the money, the Boba Fett 40th Anniversary Empire Strikes Back one is expensive. And I mean, you could get the one from Return of the Jedi or the other Empire Strikes Back one. There's a lot of other Boba Fett options, but for Han Solo, if you're looking for an updated Han Solo figure, this is really your only option. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it in this specific figure matchup is, okay, which one is a better value, meaning which one is giving you a more unique figure? And I think that this figure is more unique because, let's be honest, if you had the Boba Fett from Empire Strikes Back next to Boba Fett from Return of the Jedi, next to the one from The Mandalorian, yes, hardcore Star Wars fans will know the difference, but the average person is just going to see the same character 3 times. Whereas if you have this Han Solo next to the other Han Solos from A New Hope that we have, I mean, obviously those are now outdated, even though they're still great figures and I love them and I kind of prefer them over this one anyways, but still, you can, those look like action figures. This one looks like, a shrunken person. So in terms of value for the money, I got to give it to Han Solo. Alrighty, folks, let's talk results. So Han Solo got value for the money, but Boba Fett got sculpt and detail as well as accessories, which means Boba Fett's the winner. Now, I love this figure. If you watched my Hot Toys ranking, he came in at number 7, so he was in my top 10. And I did have a Han Solo in my top 10, but it wasn't this figure. And so, yep, in this week's figure matchup, Boba Fett takes it.
On next week's episode of Figure Matchup.
When I flip, you flip, we flip.